And we've done it again, boys. UFC Vegas 21. We're at the main event. We don't have our boy Locke with us tonight, but let's dedicate this one to him. Leon Edwards versus Belal Muhammed. Guru, why don't you kick us off here?
Yeah, interesting fight. I mean, Belal Muhammad, both these guys actually, when you think about it, have a lot to lose in this fight. I mean, if Leon Edwards loses this fight, I mean, all those talk about him fighting for the title, anything like that goes out the window. And in my opinion, I mean, a lot of people say Belal has nothing to lose, stuff like that in this fight. But I mean, every single time the UFC has given him this step up, he's kind of gotten dominated. I mean, if you think when he fought Alan Juban, when he fought Vicente Luque, when he fought Jeff Neal. So if he comes out here and just loses 50-45 again, he'd have to probably win 4 or 5 more fights in a row to get another, opportunity at a top 10, top 5 guys. So I think it's a big fight for both guys, and they're both really motivated, man. I mean, that stare down was pretty good today. I feel like Belal this week has been doing a good job talking too. Like he seems like he's confident. So that's something that I like to see. I mean, he is someone that's been kind of chirping that he feels like he's one of the best guys in the division. He wants his chance to fight these guys. So he's finally getting his chance here, and he's fighting a guy in Leon Edwards that's like probably one of the most disrespected top 5 guys in the UFC, right, in any weight class. So, I mean, Edwards hasn't fought in a long time either. So this is his comeback after about a year and a half off. He was supposed to fight Tyron Woodley, Chimaev a couple of times. So he has been having training camps. And, when I saw him, on social media during the week, he does look like he's in really good shape. So I think he's going to come in here and look good. I mean, he's only 29 years old, so I don't feel like the layoff is going to be that big of a factor. Maybe he'll start a little bit slow or something, but I feel like he's going to look just as good, if not better, than he did in the past. And for Belal Muhammad, I mean, we just saw him fight a month ago, so he's like on the complete opposite end of the spectrum. And I mean, that fight he did dominate, but he did take a lot of leg kicks in that fight. And definitely, I feel like, I don't know if he's been training, full bore for the last 4 weeks. I mean, he probably definitely had to at least take a couple weeks off. So, I mean, I do think he's going to come in here with great cardio, like always, and come to fight, but maybe a little bit compromised, just a little bit, But just looking at the fight, I mean, I feel like Muhammad, he's obviously going to have to try to use that forward pressure, get on the inside, and Leon, he's the southpaw, which to me, Belal has struggled with a lot in the past. I mean, if you watch his fight with Jeff Neal, he was getting blasted with those left crosses, with the jabs. He was eating that left high kick. So, I mean, I feel like he kind of struggles with shots from that left side, which, I mean, Leon's one of the best southpaws in the UFC, man. He's going to be a lot more, in my opinion, faster and pinpoint than a guy like Jeff Neal, even though Neal, I do think, hits a lot harder than a guy like Leon. But, I mean, I feel like Leon on the feet is going to have a big advantage. I mean, Belal, he doesn't really move his head too much. He doesn't use a lot of feints either. So, like, when he closes the distance, I feel like he's kind of obvious the way he tries to get on the inside. And Leon Edwards, I will say, he does back straight up to the fence. So Belal, I feel like, is going to be able to back him up. But when they get there, I mean, Leon is just really good at landing a shot, exiting, and just kind of resetting. He has the better footwork. And I feel like if Belal tries to get in the clinch and push that, I mean, we've seen Leon has some of the best, clinch offense, or some of the best clinch offense in the UFC. I mean, those elbows off the break are really nasty. And I feel like he's going to be, the more offensive guy in the clinch. I don't think Belal really has a lot of great weapons there. Another thing I think Belal could maybe use on the feet is low kicks, because Leon doesn't really check leg kicks, but Belal isn't really a great kicker, in my opinion. I mean, when I see him throw like his rear kicks, his leg kicks, they seem real slow. So I think that Leon is going to be able to counter if he's trying to throw those southpaw orthodox leg kicks. And, in terms of the grappling, I mean, I feel like they're pretty even. I mean, Bilal's a good wrestler. He can chain wrestle against the cage, and that's what he's going to need to do here, good level changes. I don't see him necessarily taking down Leon Edwards in the open with a level change, though. I think he's going to have to get him against the cage, really chain wrestle hard to take him down if he can. And I don't necessarily see Muhammad really having a lot of success with that. So, I mean, I could even see Edwards maybe even getting some takedowns. I mean, Edwards is probably one of the best European wrestlers in the UFC. So, I mean, I just feel like Leon Edwards is way better on the feet. He has better footwork. He, throws better combinations, faster hands. And, I mean, Belal Muhammad is a super tough guy. That's the one thing you could give him, right? I mean, you see his fights with Alan Joban, even his last fight with Diego Lima, he's getting his leg chopped, still walking forward. So I don't necessarily think Leon is going to finish him. Leon's not a guy that has a lot of finishes. He's not a big power guy. So I think it's going to be one of those fights where it's like Belal Muhammad, he's making the fight, I don't know if it's even going to say competitive, but he's pushing Leon. He's making it a hard fight, and maybe he's losing like every single round. Similar to that fight, maybe Calvin Kattar versus Dan Ige, like where Leon's just outclassing him, but Belal shows his toughness for 5 rounds, and it's a fun fight, but I think Leon will kind of dominate.
Sounds good to me. Cody Saftic, what do you think?
Yeah, honestly, I could not tell you a guy that's more avoided in the fight game than Leon Edwards. Nobody wants to fight this guy. First of all, maybe he doesn't have the biggest name or the biggest reputation, or he doesn't sell the tickets, or he doesn't have the exposure, but just like they don't want to fight him because there's no what's the risk versus reward? If I beat this guy, no one's heard of him. If I lose to this guy, more likely scenario, it does nothing for me. And so nobody wants to fight him. Usman doesn't have to fight him because he already defeated him. Okay. Leon Edwards has won 8 in a row since then. But aside from that, okay, Usman doesn't have to fight him. Colby's on record. Colby's my boy. Colby's on record being like, I'm not fighting him. George Masvidal sucker punched him, but he's on record being like, I don't want to fight him. Tyron Woodley bailed out of the fight with him. Nobody wants to fight this guy. They're just like, no. And so it becomes a funny thing on joke. Leon who? Who's this guy? You know, like it's funny. It's all ha-ha, but it's like, no, there's a reason why you don't want to fight him. He's got skills everywhere. He really does. He's got great cardio. He's got good composure. He's got good ring IQ. And his striking, he doesn't have a ton of volume. I'd like to see a little bit more out of him. He doesn't have a ton of stinging power as well, but there's very few guys that strike as well in the clinch as him. And, just exiting with that elbow time and time again, it's crazy how a guy like Donald Cerrone even, where it's like the first 3 of them nail you, you're going to make an adjustment, right? It's like you can't, because as you're clinched up with them, as soon as you pull away, it's like smang, he smashes you in the face. Now, winning against a guy like Donald Cerrone and Rafael dos Anjos and Gunnar Nelson, maybe you're looking at these guys that they're kind of in the later stages of their careers, but they're legitimate victories. He's gone 5 rounds twice. That's all championship round experience that he's got in his back pocket. That's all well and good. When you look at Belal Muhammad's not taking this fight because this is the next guy in line. He's taking this fight by virtue of there's nobody else for Edwards to fight. This is a forced layoff. This is not a voluntarily layoff. The guy wants to fight. The guy's routinely signing on the dotted line. His opponents are not showing up. But in this last year and a half, Guru mentioned in social media, boy is shredded good shape. Now think about the concept of you're going to fight Chimaev, right? It's like, man, Khamzat Chimaev is just going to look to take me down and grind me. So you work on that. You work on the wrestling. You work on the grappling. You work on the cardio. I'm going to have to take this guy to deeper waters. You get the best version of yourself. Even the Tyron Woodley fight, joke of a fight, but it's like that would be your coming out party because everybody who beats Tyron Woodley gets the rub. You beat a former champion. Now you're the next guy in line. Colby got a rub off him. Usman got a rub off him. Gilbert Burns got a title fight from beating him. Would have been a good spot for Leon Edwards. But again, it's not his fault his opponent falls out. He just continues to try to get better. So even though he's coming off this long layoff, I just think you're going to see an improved version of him. And so going back to the rankings, you got Leon Edwards is legitimately the number 3 or 4 guy in the world. He's bona fide top 5, but he's one of the upper echelon guys. Belal Muhammad, he's like number 12 or 13 in the world. Again, he's not fighting Edwards because these are the next 2 guys in line. He's fighting him because he's taking this fight on short notice. And you look at his track record, it's like, okay, so you beat Curtis Millender. You beat Takashi Sato. You beat Diego. Douglas Lima would have been a sick win, but you beat Diego Lima. Leon Edwards cruises through these guys. Leon Edwards beats these guys in a spectacular fashion, right? That to me is not impressive, right? But, even just taking those leg kicks of Diego Lima, he's on a 3-week turnaround, but his leg got absolutely chewed up in his last fight. So again, you don't just wake up on Sunday and be like, I'm going to the gym. You allow your body to rest, rejuvenate, and then the call rings. We need somebody to step up. You got to be a company man. Why? Because that's why the UFC keeps giving you these softball matchups. They've given you step-ups. Again, Guru already mentioned this. Alan Jouban fights a step-up, he loses. The Jeff Neal fights a step-up, he loses. The Vicente Luque fight was a step-up, and he lost pretty badly in that one. When they give him these lower-end guys, he shines, right? But when they call you and they say, we need you to take this fight, you take the fight. You don't turn it down. You become the company guy. Belal Muhammad is the company guy. As far as the style matchup, okay, how could Belal get this done? I think he can get it done on the forward pressure and the striking output. Belal Muhammad's a guy that likes to let his hands go. He likes to go out there and throw over 100 significant strikes, land over 100 significant strikes. And with Leon Edwards, he's a little bit slower output. So maybe Belal can try to force him back against the cage and just try to outstrike him. But ultimately, once he backs him up, I think Leon Edwards is going to clinch with him. Once they're in the clinch, he's going to realize it's game for Edwards. As far as it being a distance, Edwards is faster. He's a little rangier. He's got that reach. I think he's just going to pot shot at him, use his own low calf kick, same thing Lima did, kick him in the leg, pot shot him, allow him to rush forward, and then clinch up with him. I think speed advantage will go Edwards. 5-round championship experience goes Edwards. Belal hasn't fought 5 rounds since his Titan FC days a long time ago, but he's on short notice, right? Surely when you're getting ready to fight Chimaev, it's like, I need to take this guy to deeper waters because no one's done that yet. Maybe that's how I'm going to exploit this guy. I've got 5 rounds to work with. Got to be in great shape. When you see this guy, how he's been training, he appears to be in great shape. That's tough for Belal Muhammad. Belal Muhammad's won a lot of fights just on the basis of being in better shape. He outwills you over the course of 3. Slow starter, but just outwills you. I don't think it's going to happen here against Edwards. So I've got Leon Edwards. And again, we're looking at a minus 260. I don't think that's a terrible price tag, but I would want to make it better. And so I think this fight goes the distance. Looking at that, bookies all over it, right? They think this fight's going the distance as well. So got Leon Edwards by decision. Just to try to, it's plus 120, right? So that's how I'm going to turn my minus 260 into a plus money play. But I do get the problem with betting props, right? Like, this is a 5-round fight, it's 25 minutes at any point. And also what I learned from last week with Peter Yan is, like, you could be in the driver's seat and cruise control and still lose. So the longer fights the more time there is in a fight, the more time there is for a mental lapse. Anyways, I hope that Edwards just minds his P's and Q's, does what he's got to do, wins this one by decision. I'd be happy with that. But I think this is a tough fight on short notice for Belal Muhammad.
Yeah, and Cody, man, I just think that's the whole story of the fight. I feel like Belal probably could give a pretty good account of himself in this fight. And I think he would give an even better account of himself if he actually had a full training camp leading up to this, And speaking of training camp, my man Leon Edwards, this has got to be like the 8th training camp this dude's entered for a targeted opponent. He's finally let's cross our fingers. We still have fight day, right? And the way we've been losing fights as of late, man, it seems like nothing's for certain. Fingers crossed, Leon Edwards actually fights tomorrow. It's been a year and a half. This guy's so ducked. Everybody drops out. The Hamzat issue, we know all about that. The fight's been scheduled, at least 3 times at this point. Sure enough, it still doesn't happen. Belal Muhammad, hats off to the guy. Mad respect for the turnaround to come off that fight he had, which, don't get me wrong, clear-cut win. He definitely won the fight. But, man, he did not come out unscathed. And you guys both touched on it, man. I'm very worried about that lead leg of Belal Muhammad. We know a healthy calf sometimes is done, smoked finito after 3 good solid calf kicks. Imagine this guy on a 80% calf coming into this fight against a guy like Leon, who's just so deadly, so well-rounded, and now he's going to have to go 25 minutes with that lead leg out there. If I'm Leon Edwards, dude, I'm chopping, I'm investing in the calf very early. I like Belal Muhammad. I've made a lot of money on this guy. I love backing this guy. I just don't think this is the spot, man. I truly think Leon Edwards is one of the elite, one of the best. You guys said, man, on social media, look at this dude. He's always in shape. He appears to have taken it to another level. This dude is cut. I think he's ready to go. I think he's motivated. I think we're looking at a very frustrated guy, a guy who has sat out 18 months of the absolute prime of his career. We all may have forgotten about Leon Edwards. I think tomorrow he goes out there, puts on a performance, puts out a statement that says there's no forgetting about Leon Edwards anymore. I'm for real. I'm up next. Dana White says he wins this fight. He's absolutely going for the title. I think he does. I think Leon Edwards probably wins this fight round 4 or 5. I think Leon inside the distance is very doable, considering I am just worried about that lead leg of Belal. The Lyman Good fight. We saw Belal win the first 2 rounds. Eats a big shot from Lyman. Sure enough, holds on and survives, which I got to tell you, I had a big bet on Belal. I was sweating and yelling at my dude to get up and survive. He does. He gets the win. But, man, I'm telling you right now, if we're looking at a similar scenario with Leon Edwards, who I do think is a better striker, a more dangerous striker, man, he probably doesn't survive that 3rd round. And he absolutely does not go on to win that fight with a 4th and 5th round. I got Leon Edwards in this one. I think he reminds us all who he is. If anything, might show us that he's on yet another level against a very high-level, very well-rounded guy in Belal Muhammad, albeit on short notice. Leon Edwards is the guy for me.